The Imjin War. In the early morning mist of 16th century Korea, the sea itself seemed to awaken. Drums echoed across the water as sails rose like white walls against the horizon. Japan had come, by land and by sea, and Korea stood at the edge of destruction. This was the Imjin War, a conflict that would test courage, reshape a nation, and give rise to one of the greatest naval commanders in human history. The year was 1592. Korea was ruled by the Joseon dynasty, a kingdom shaped by Confucian ideals, scholarship, and long years of relative peace. Its people were farmers, artisans, and scholars who believed stability would endure. The army was modest, and few imagined that war could arrive so suddenly or with such overwhelming force. Across the sea, Japan had been transformed by decades of civil war. From that chaos rose one man, Hideyoshi. Having unified Japan under his rule, Hideyoshi dreamed of something greater, conquering Ming China and ruling all of East Asia. Korea lay directly in his path. When diplomatic demands failed, Hideyoshi chose invasion. In the spring of 1592, more than 150,000 Japanese soldiers crossed the sea. They landed at Busan with terrifying speed and precision. Korean defenses collapsed almost immediately. Japanese forces, armed with matchlock muskets, overwhelmed cities one after another. Busan fell. Then Dongne. Panic spread as news raced inland. Within weeks, the capital city of Hansan, modern-day Seoul, was abandoned. The royal court fled north. Roads filled with refugees carrying what little they could save. Temples burned, villages were destroyed, and families were torn apart. It appeared that the Joseon dynasty itself was on the verge of collapse. Yet, while chaos consumed the land, a quiet determination was forming along the coast. A naval commander named Yi Sun-sin observed the invasion with clear eyes. He understood a truth others had overlooked. Japanese armies depended entirely on supplies delivered by sea. If those supply lines could be cut, the invasion would falter. Admiral Yi Sun-sin was not loud or boastful. He was disciplined, methodical, and deeply loyal to his country. As Japanese ships crowded Korean waters, Yi prepared his fleet, and with it he revealed a revolutionary weapon, the turtle ship, known as the Jaebuksan. These vessels were unlike anything the world had seen. Covered with iron plates and sharp spikes, armed with powerful cannons and a dragon-headed prow that spewed smoke and fire, the turtle ships were floating fortresses. They were designed not for boarding, but for destruction. At sea, Yi struck with precision. At Okpo, he crushed the enemy fleet. At Hansando, he lured Japanese ships into open waters and annihilated them using superior formation and firepower. Time and again, Yi defeated fleets larger than his own. Japanese supply lines collapsed. Their soldiers, once unstoppable, began to starve. As the war dragged on, Ming China entered the conflict, sending troops to aid Korea. Battles raged across the peninsula, devastating the land and its people. Yet one fact became undeniable. Japan could not win without control of the sea, and the sea belonged to Admiral Yi. In 1597, during the Battle of Myeongyang, Yi faced his greatest test. With only 13 ships, he confronted more than 300 enemy vessels in a narrow strait. Against impossible odds, Yi used the tides, the terrain, and sheer will to destroy the Japanese fleet. It became one of the most astonishing naval victories in history. The final chapter came in 1598, at the Battle of Noryang. As Japanese forces retreated, Admiral Yi led the pursuit. In the heat of the battle, he was struck by a bullet. As he lay dying, he gave his final command, "Do not announce my death." He did not want his men to lose heart. The battle was won. The invasion ended. Japan withdrew from Korea. The land was left in ruins. Cities lay shattered. Countless lives had been lost, but Korea endured. The Joseon dynasty survived, and Admiral Yi Sun-sin became more than a man. He became a symbol of sacrifice, intelligence, and unbreakable resolve. The Imjin War changed East Asia forever. It proved that courage and strategy could overcome overwhelming force, and it reminded the world that even in its darkest hour, a nation can rise, guided by one steady hand and one fearless heart.